All right, imagine this. You're at the very top of your game, playing for one of the best teams in the world, and you decide to go home. Not just any home, but back to your city to play for the team you grew up loving. That's exactly what Romário, the Brazilian football legend, did 30 years ago today.
And we're not just talking about any player here. This is Romário, fresh off winning the World Cup.
Right.
With Brazil about to be named FIFA World Player of the Year.
Wow.
He's playing for Barcelona, a giant in the world of football. Winning the World Cup is like reaching the pinnacle of the sport.
Right.
Imagine the Super Bowl and the Olympics all rolled into one.
Yeah.
And the FIFA World Player of the Year award, it's like being crowned the best of the best globally.
Right.
Romário is at the top of his game, and players at his level rarely, if ever, left Europe at that point in their careers.
So you'd think he'd be happy just to stay in Europe and keep racking up the awards and the money, right? But on January 14th, 1995, he does the unthinkable and lands back in Rio.
His arrival was absolute mayhem. The city just erupted. Fans flooded the streets for a glimpse of their hero, and the celebrations were off the charts.
But amidst all the fanfare, everyone was asking the same question.
Yeah.
Why? Why would he leave Barcelona when he was at the top of the world?
And Romário himself answered that question. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, I wouldn't change a thing. I chose happiness over a bigger paycheck.
Some might say that was a foolish move,
Yeah.
leaving so much money on the table. What are your thoughts?
It certainly raises questions. Was it purely about happiness, or was there a deeper message there? A statement, perhaps, against the increasingly commercialized world of European football. You have to remember that this resonated deeply with Brazilians.
Right.
Family, community, and a sense of belonging are deeply ingrained in Brazilian culture. Maybe Romário's decision tapped into that yearning for something more than just fame and fortune.
That makes a lot of sense. No, this wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment decision, right? The article we're looking at suggests that this homecoming was brewing for a while.
Exactly. It all started during Romário's post-World Cup vacation back in Rio. He was surrounded by the love of his fans, the familiar sights and sounds of his home city. That's when the idea of playing for Flamengo, his hometown club, really took hold.
For those of us not deeply familiar with Brazilian football, could you explain what Flamengo means to the people of Rio?
Imagine a team like Real Madrid or Manchester United, but with even deeper cultural roots. Flamengo isn't just a team in Rio.
Right.
It's an institution. It's woven into the fabric of the city, its history, its people's identity. It's almost like a religion in its own right.
Wow, that's powerful. No wonder the idea of playing for Flamengo held such a strong appeal for Romário.
And two figures played a crucial role in making this dream a reality. Journalist Gilmar Ferreira and then presidential candidate Kleber.
So walk us through this. How did they even begin to make this happen? Barcelona wouldn't just let their star player walk away, right?
Well, Romário had a plan, and it was pretty ingenious. He knew he couldn't rely on Flamengo alone to finance the transfer. So he decided to leverage his brand power.
Right.
He figured he could bring $1 million from personal sponsorships, another $1 million from a beverage company that backed him, and he believed he could secure another $1 million from the Rio de Janeiro government, seeing him as a major ambassador for the city.
So he was basically putting together his own transfer fee, but I'm guessing even with all that, getting Barcelona on board was a whole other challenge.
Absolutely, and this is where the story gets interesting. Leite, who had just become president of Flamengo, flew to Barcelona to meet with Joan Gaspart, the club's vice president. Imagine the tension in that room. A relatively new club president trying to convince one of the biggest clubs in the world to part with their star player.
It sounds like something out of a movie. What happened next?
Lidl, in a bold move, went straight to the point and said, I'm here to buy Romário. Gaspart was caught off guard, almost dismissive. But Leite pressed him. How much would it take? And almost like a dare, Gaspart threw out a number, $4.5 million.
I'm on the edge of my seat. So did Leite have the money?
Well, that's where the collaborative genius of this whole thing comes in. While negotiating with Barcelona, Leite had been working tirelessly behind the scenes, building a coalition of partners willing to invest in this seemingly crazy plan. And guess what? He managed to get 5 major players on board. Umbro, the sportswear giant, Banco Real, Barra Shopping, Brahma, the brewery, and get this, Even the Rio de Janeiro prefecture, led by Cesar Maia.
Hold on, Cesar Maia, wasn't he a Botafogo supporter?
Yes.
That's Flamengo's biggest rival.
You got it.
Yeah.
But even he recognized the magnitude of this moment, the potential impact Romário's return could have on the city.
So it wasn't just a football transfer, it was a city uniting behind their hero.
Yes.
A marketing masterstroke, really.
It was unprecedented. Think about it. A player essentially orchestrating his own transfer back home with the help of sponsors and even the city government. Kleber Leite himself said that Romário was the vehicle of a revolution at Flamengo. It was about so much more than just goals on the pitch.
It's an incredible story so far, but let's get to that iconic car parade through the streets of Rio. I'm dying to hear about that.
Ah, the car parade. That was pure magic, a moment etched in the memory of every Flamengo fan.
And there's that unforgettable image of the comedian Busunda holding his son aloft, both of them beaming as Romário's car goes by.
It perfectly captures the collective euphoria of that day. Even Romário's ex-wife, Monica Santoro,
right,
who wasn't initially thrilled about the move, admitted that she understood why he had to come back.
It sounds like this return was about something much deeper than just football.
It absolutely was. And that's what we'll explore next.
You mentioned that Romário's ex-wife, Monica Santoro, eventually understood his decision to return to Rio. It sounds like this move was about more than just football. The article indeed hints at some personal challenges he was facing at the time, including his separation from Monica.
That's right. The article touches upon the fact that his personal life was undergoing some upheaval.
Right.
And I think for Romário, returning to Rio, to Flamengo, was a way of finding solace, reconnecting with his roots amidst those challenges.
It's interesting because on the surface, you see this triumphant homecoming, the city celebrating his hero, but underneath, there's this layer of personal complexity, a search for something deeper. It makes the whole story even more compelling.
Don't you think? It wasn't just about the glory of football. It was about a man coming home, seeking refuge, and perhaps even a sense of renewal.
It certainly adds another dimension to his quote about choosing happiness over money. Maybe it wasn't just about rejecting the allure of European football. It's also about finding something more grounding, more fulfilling, closer to his heart.
Precisely. And, it wasn't just a sentimental move either. He went on to achieve some incredible things with Flamengo.
Right. He wasn't just there to soak up the adulation.
Right.
He wanted to win to contribute.
Absolutely. He led them to victory in the Campeonato Carioca in 1996, and they were undefeated that season, which is no small feat.
Wow.
Then they won it again in 1999. They also clinched the Copa Mercosul in 1999, and even the Copa dos Campeões Mundiais in 1997.
So he delivered on his promise, both to himself and to the fans.
He did. And it wasn't just about the trophies. It was about reigniting the passion of the fans, restoring a sense of pride in the club. He became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even when things seem impossible, anything is achievable with the right amount of heart and determination.
It's truly remarkable. He walked away from the riches and fame of European football to pursue something more meaningful.
And that's what makes his story so inspiring, so universally relatable.
Right.
It reminds us that true fulfillment often lies outside the conventional definition of success.
The article highlights this beautiful quote from Romário, reflecting on his time with Flamengo. He said, "I was very happy at Flamengo. There's no denying that. I have that story to tell."
Right.
It's a simple statement, but it speaks volumes.
It really does. It encapsulates the essence of his journey, the pursuit of happiness, the fulfillment of a dream, and the creation of a legacy that extends far beyond the football pitch.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it?
Right.
The article mentions a controversial incident in Caxias that ultimately led to his departure from Flamengo in 1999.
You're right. Even legends have their flaws, and Romário was no exception.
Right.
That incident definitely cast a shadow over his final days at the club.
Right.
But what strikes me is that despite the controversy, he still looks back at his time with Flamengo with fondness and pride.
It's a reminder that life is rarely a straightforward path, even for those who seem to have it all.
Right.
There are always going to be challenges, setbacks, and difficult decisions.
And it's how we navigate those challenges, how we learn and grow from them that ultimately defines our journey.
What do you think Romário's return to Rio tells us about him as a person?
I think it reveals a man deeply connected to his roots, someone who values happiness and fulfillment over material success.
Right.
He was willing to take a risk, to defy expectations, and to follow his heart, even if it meant leaving behind the perceived glamour and security of European football.
And in doing so, he created a story that continues to inspire, a testament to the power of following your dreams, no matter how audacious they may seem.
It's a story that resonates with anyone who has ever felt the pull of home, the yearning for something more than the conventional path. And it reminds us that sometimes the greatest victories are achieved not on the field, but in the pursuit of a life lived on our own terms.
This has been such an insightful look at Romário's return to Rio.
I agree. It's been fascinating to explore the layers of this story, the triumph, the personal struggles, the cultural significance, and the lasting legacy.
So what's the biggest takeaway for you?
I think it's the reminder that happiness isn't always found where we expect it.
Right.
Sometimes it means taking a leap of faith, defying the norms, and pursuing a path that feels authentically ours. And that's a powerful message, one that transcends the world of football and speaks to the human experience in a profound way.
Beautifully said. And for you listening, what resonates most with you about Romário's story? What would you be willing to give up for a chance at true happiness? Think about it. It's easy to get caught up in the fairy tale, the prodigal son returning home, the city embracing its hero. But Romário's return to Rio was more than just a feel-good story.
Absolutely.
Wasn't it?
It was a pivotal moment in Brazilian football history, and it had a ripple effect that extended far beyond the pitch.
In what way?
Well, think about it. Romário was challenging the status quo.
Okay.
He was saying that there's more to life than just money and trophies.
Right.
He was prioritizing happiness and connection. And that resonated deeply with people, not just in Brazil, but around the world.
So he was kind of a trailblazer, paving the way for other players to perhaps make similar decisions.
You could say that. He showed that it was possible to return home, to reconnect with your roots, even at the height of your career.
Right.
And in doing so, he challenged the notion that European football was the be-all and end-all for Brazilian players.
It's interesting because you often hear stories of players feeling a sense of isolation, almost a disconnect from their home countries when they play abroad.
Yes, that's a common theme.
Yeah.
And for Brazilian players, who are known for their strong ties to family and community, that sense of isolation can be particularly acute.
So Romário's return was a reminder that you can go back, that you can find fulfillment and success outside of the traditional path.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about him. It was about inspiring a generation of young Brazilian players, showing them that they had options that they didn't have to follow the same well-worn path.
And it wasn't just symbolic.
Right.
He proved that you could come back and still compete at the highest levels.
Absolutely. He didn't just return to bask in the adulation of the fans.
Right.
He came back to win, and he did just that.
His story is almost like a modern-day fable, isn't it? A tale about following your heart, about the importance of home, and about the enduring power of the human spirit.
I like that analogy. It really captures the essence of what Romário achieved. He defied expectations.
Yeah.
He challenged the norms, and he created a legacy that continues to inspire people to this day.
And for those listening, what stands out most for you about Romário's story? Is it the audacity of the move, the way he rallied an entire city behind him, or perhaps the deeper message about choosing happiness over material gain?
I think it's a combination of all those things. Yeah. It's a story that speaks to our deepest desires for connection, for meaning, for a sense of belonging.
It's been an absolute pleasure diving into this story with you.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Romário's extraordinary return to Rio. It's a story that reminds us that even in the world of professional sports, where ambition and competition often reign supreme, there's always room for heart, for passion, and for the pursuit of something greater than ourselves. This is The Deep Dive.